you will see sitting on my sculpting table a brand new pair of Justin boots. I think I bought them maybe about 3 months ago. And they weren't particularly expensive, less than $200. Just nice, sort of casual, but I can dress up in them too. Just really pretty, really nice kick-around boots. And would you know it, just a week or so ago, I caught the toe of the left boot on a piece of metal that was stuck in the ground, and it gouged out a hole. And, I was disappointed, but I thought, let's see if we can't fix these things. So I went online and I ordered some Saphir, excuse the camera work, Saphir renovating cream. And, I bought the box. I mean, it's all in French, which is fine. But I went online to a couple of different places, Kirby Allison with the Hanger Project, and looked to see what product would serve me to try and repair these boots. And this is what he recommended. So I bought this. And this is the cream right here. And it comes in a lot of different colors. You want to try to match whatever leather you're trying to repair as close as you can. And if you look, you can see, you see that divot. I did take some polish and cover over the raw leather, and so it doesn't look as bad. And under certain lighting conditions, you can't even tell. But still, it annoys me with a brand new boot. So I wanted to see if I couldn't, make it a lot better. The first thing you want to do, of course, is to buff it off and make sure that you don't have any dirt or debris on it. One thing, Kirby Allison and some of the others that I've watched, they use their fingers, and I may eventually do that a little bit, but I really like using a brush. I just felt like I had a little bit better control. Excuse me. Now, one thing you want to do, anytime you patch or repair something, you always want to go darker rather than lighter, because a darker patch is going to show up less so than a lighter patch. What's really interesting about these boots, sorry I'm moving it around so much, what's interesting about these boots is that they came with this mottled texture or mottled coloration, and it just so happened that the divot that I knocked into this, it was in the dark part, so hopefully that won't show up as bad. And eventually I will go in and polish this, and so hopefully I can get it to be roughly the same color. What I'm trying to do is build this up slow so that I don't get such a mountain of it, and then I've got to try and sand it back down. They say to let it air dry for about 10 minutes, but I don't really see a problem with hitting it with a blow dryer. The other thing too, these are my kick-around boots, and I had just put some silicone on them to make them waterproof. And my biggest fear was that now this has a real compromised area with the leather, which is going to allow water to get in. I've dropped the brush. Sometimes you just have to be bold and get in there and just do it. And with the brush, it was just being too delicate, too precious, and just wasn't getting the job done. Now it's filling in a whole lot better, whole lot better. Right now it's sort of glossy, and I can see the glossy resin, but as that dries down, it becomes very matte and blends in pretty well. Now this does shrink a little bit, not terribly bad, but it does shrink a little bit. So you do have to know that you're going to put some on, it's going to shrink, and then you'll have to put a little bit more on. Wow, I think I want to just sit and let this air dry for about 10 or 15 minutes, because you don't want to just fuss around with it forever. One problem is you'll go to fix a problem, and the more you keep noodling with it and fussing with it, sometimes the worse you can make it. It does keep sinking in. It keeps shrinking a bit, sinking in. So I'll go back in another time and put some more on it. So you just have to be patient. All right, I've just about got the hole, the little divot, completely covered, but I wanted to put one more little speck right there. But one thing I was thinking, it has darkened up the toe right there, and so I think what I'm going to do is just use this to darken the whole tip of the toe, give it sort of a gradient, and then I need to come over to the boot that was not damaged, and I feel like I really ought to do the same thing over here. Just put a little bit on the whole toe of this boot so that they'll match. And some of this you just have to be bold and brave and just be willing to learn and mess up, because you're going to, just like with anything else. Having a pair of boots like this, they're real nice. They're not super expensive, but still, I mean, they weren't free. I did spend almost $200 on them, and to have them brand spanking new, only to have a divot knocked out of them was just too frustrating. So I thought, well, my goodness, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Now this is something that you could do this forever. And if you were working on a pair of really expensive Allen Edmonds shoes, or a $500, $600, $700, $800 or $1,000 pair of cowboy boots, you might want to carry it even further than I'm going to. I can still see a slight divot under certain raking light conditions, but this is so slight that to me it's just not worth continuing to fight with it and think about going in and sanding it and getting it just totally smooth, because then I would need to get some dyes possibly and re-dye it, and it's just not worth the time and effort. I just wanted to try to do the best I could to salvage these and make them still, fairly nice, and just psychologically to make myself feel better that these brand new boots weren't beat up. Now, what I do want to do is polish these and bring, because there's a bit of a gloss where the resin is. So I feel like if I can polish these real nice, very nicely, then that should even disappear and go away, possibly entirely. We'll see. Okay, I've got a little bit of just kiwi polish. It's not the greatest in the world, but it's good enough for this pair of boots. And I'm not going to polish the whole boot. I had just polished them maybe a couple of weeks earlier and had treated them with silicone, put a spray silicone covering over them so that they'd be nice and waterproof, and then I go in and ding them. And what really worked nicely on these is that this mottled texture, it already had broken, uneven look. So having that one spot that was a little bit dark was okay, because it just kind of went with the whole texture and or color of the boot. Now I need to let that soak in for about 10 minutes and then we'll come back. Okay, and now we're going to shine these up, buff them out. Get both toes really shiny and nice. It doesn't take much. If you've enjoyed this episode of The Arthropologist, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more episodes like this, think about subscribing. I'm Bill Wilson, and I'm The Arthropologist.